For decades, Yoko Ono has often been cast as the villain in the story of the Beatles' breakup, and at one point, even Paul McCartney seemed to buy into that narrative. Tensions were already brewing during the Get Back sessions. George Harrison felt like a background player, Paul was growing increasingly disillusioned with the others' fading commitment, and John Lennon, frustrated by Paul's assertiveness, began pulling away. Yoko Ono wasn't doing anything overtly disruptive. She wasn't interfering or giving commands. Yet her silent presence in the studio was enough to unsettle the group dynamic, particularly for Paul. McCartney admitted later that he found Yoko difficult to understand at the time. She seemed guarded, and none of the band members, himself included, made much of an effort to break that barrier. That emotional distance created unease, one that festered quietly as everything else around them was already falling apart. After the band's official split, each Beatle charted his own path. In 1971, McCartney released Ram, an album crafted with his wife, Linda. Its opening track, Too Many People, served as a thinly veiled outlet for his lingering frustrations. Without naming names, the lyrics hinted at the suffocating presence of too many voices offering unsolicited guidance, reflecting how Paul felt John and Yoko had taken on a self-appointed role of directing others' lives and decisions. Years later, McCartney revealed that this sentiment was especially tied to one particular lyric, "Too many people preaching practices." He believed that John and Yoko had overstepped in their moralizing and behavior, trying to shape others to fit their worldview. But according to music scholar Vincent Perez Benitez, the lyric, "You took your lucky break and broke it in two," was originally even more direct. Early drafts reportedly included Yoko's name, "Yoko took your lucky break," a line McCartney ultimately revised before the final recording. Whether out of restraint or reconsideration, he chose a more subtle route, pulling back from what would have been a public jab. Looking back, that decision may have spared more than just headlines. Over time, Paul's opinion of Yoko shifted dramatically. After Lennon's shocking assassination outside the Dakota in New York City in 1980, McCartney found himself feeling a strange pull, not of blame, but of concern. He wanted to understand the woman his dearest musical partner had loved so fiercely. By 1984, Paul began to acknowledge that he had never truly connected with Yoko while John was alive. He realized that the bond John shared with her had always been something deeply personal, something he may have misunderstood, or perhaps never tried hard enough to accept. Ironically, it was after John's passing that Paul and Yoko began to bridge the distance between them. Driven by a mix of grief, reflection, and a sense of loyalty to John's memory, Paul started reaching out to her. Their conversations were no longer burdened by tension or rivalry. They talked about life, about loss, and about the past, with a sense of mutual respect. In time, Paul saw a different side of Yoko, one that was nurturing, gentle, and deeply compassionate. He came to believe that maybe his resentment had stemmed from his own misunderstandings, not her actions. That realization led him to approach her not just as John's partner, but as someone worth knowing in her own right. What began as suspicion eventually transformed into something softer, an unspoken truce forged through memory, mourning, and the quiet healing that comes with time.